Okay. The 11th choice, testing versus trusting. I love this one. And yeah, that's 11 weeks in with four more to go. So we're into it. And I would love to hear from someone who wants to give us our first direction, some insight that came up when you were reading this chapter.
No, everyone. Scouts is going early. Scouts is going early.
I think the Dalek voice is back.
Oh, is it?
It's back.
Oh, see the Daleks, they're everywhere. Take over the universe. They banish the Daleks.
Perfect. There we go.
Boom. um, yeah, this one, the testing versus trusting, um, right from that first chapter in the section, really. This is what stops us, and I've read this a few times, and it just makes me chuckle every single time because I'm like, do you know what? Rather than the question of when somebody says they've got an idea and somebody goes, right, well, what's stopping you? What's stopping you? Really, the question is, who's stopping you? And the answer is always me. In um, whatever version of the sentence that shows up of the fact that we don't think it'll work, or yeah, I'm not really kind of haven't really got faith in that system, or I don't trust that that'll be the best way to do it. Rather than just actually doing it to find out whether it works or not. How that would alter, um, it could be proper sliding doors moments for people right throughout life if we just, instead of um, defeating ourselves before we've even sort of attempted anything, we get into that creative storytelling in our minds of why it wouldn't work, and kind of thinking back to um, so many points kind of throughout life where you can, well, certainly where I've had an idea to do something and then go, yeah, well, yeah, it wouldn't really work for me. That works for them. It's all right for them. That they can do it. These learned folks with magical powers, they can do that. But yeah, I don't think I'll be able to do that, or that wouldn't work for me, or have I got that? I think Steve talks a lot about kind of this thing of having self belief and gaining self belief,
Mm.
and it's almost even in that sentence, it's almost like it's something out there that I've got to get and collect. Oh, I'm a bit short of self belief today. Wonder if I've left any behind a couch, or maybe it's down the road in the neighbour's house. I'll have to go and knock on and see if I can have some of my self belief back. It's we create it as this mystical thing of, which again is that looking in the wrong direction that we often hear spoken about. We're looking out there for something that actually isn't out there. Um, and rather than just run an experiment, because experiments never fail, you know um, it reminded me of a phrase I heard, and it's just come back to me now. about success and failure, and the how we often frame or perceive success and failure as opposite ends of the spectrum. So if we don't succeed at something, then we fail at it. Whereas actually failure is required as part of the journey to provide us with information that allows us to become successful, rather than being the opposite end of a continuum. You know, they're not kind of binary of, if it's this, then it's not that, and you know, Vicky Baker. And that for me seems to suggest why people might not adopt the testing process as much, because if I test it and I don't get the outcome that I expect, where have we heard expectation before? Then that means I've failed at it. It's not happened. It's wrong, you know. And I'll kind of fold my arms and sit and sulk in the corner, rather than, oh, I tried that and that didn't work, or that didn't work out the way that I thought it might have. So what can I try instead? Or what is that trying to tell me? You know, is it guide me in a different direction? You know, looking for the positive in it, because they don't, experiments don't fail. It's you know, they just give us more information that will contribute to a direction that we're going to take, because we're still going to be moving in a direction. It just might be a different direction from the one that we anticipated. But that movement in any direction is better than stagnation, which we won't get if we don't test. You know, if we're just through that trusting thing, then we can stagnate. Because at least we're safe then. You know, at least we can be safe in our stagnation.
And even that safety is a misconception. What do we think we're safe from? And it seems that a common response to that is, well, the fear of failure. But again, establishing what you've just said, it's like success isn't the opposite of failure. Failure is a prerequisite to success. It is a part of success. It's a part of experimentation, which is a creative. Language isn't going to do this justice. I was going to say creative and scientific approach, but of course, the scientific approach is creative in its nature. Science requires that we experiment, cut things up, and go, well, okay, why didn't that work? And then in the process of trying to create a certain desired outcome, we might do a number of things, a combination of a number of things, and it might just be one or two of a combination of things that didn't quite work. So we can get into the nitty gritty of, I wonder if it's this part. I actually did X, Y, Z really well, and then at this part it didn't quite land. And right, so now I can zero in on this thing, but I've also learned like X, Y, and Z works. I just need to focus on this bit. But yeah, back to, okay, safe. Well, what's the danger here?
Yeah, and actually, some of those failures or mistakes or whatever lead directly to other successes that we might not have seen. So the example that comes to mind is Post-it notes. I remember that Post-it notes came about because somebody was trying to create an adhesive sort of note thing, but of course the adhesion wasn't sticking, so it wasn't a permanent thing. And then they were like, oh well, I can leave little notes and they can be there, but they're not stuck there permanently then, so I can take them down and move them around. and that's how post-it notes came about. So they'd set out to achieve one thing, not achieve that, so failed at that essentially. But as a result of that, created post-it notes. You know what I mean? So something had come from that failure, if you like, or from that journey, just to a different success. And just because we might not have seen that at the start doesn't mean that that's not going to be something which is beneficial or fruitful, or, you know, nothing happens by accident, is it, in the universe? You know, there are no mistakes. You know, it's just that it might not align with what we'd created as the way it has to be.
In other words, an expectation that we had.
An expectation, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's where the topic of like blinkered, becoming so blinkered on one thing that actually you're missing out on the nuance and the detail, or the possibility that, okay, it isn't the thing, but it's a thing. Post-it notes, for example, well, great. Just solved a problem.
Yeah.
People. Great. I love what you said as well. Another misconception is the idea of more of. I need more confidence. I need more belief. I need more trust in myself. I need more trust in the process. I need more passion. The perpetual more of, and always talking about these things as though you could pour a glass of it. It's like,
Yeah.
well, here's a glass of confidence, or here's a glass of more belief, and talking about these nebulous terms as though you could go out and acquire more of it. And the trap there is seeing these things as an additional process. Oh, I need to take more on of something. Ergo, I'm missing something is the message you're receiving, you're sending to yourself. I'm missing something. That's why it's not working. And in the conversations we have, and in the inside out understanding, you learn to see that this is all a subtractive process, that confidence is revealed. It's not growing. It has the appearance of growing. And so you can understand the innocent misconception of, oh, so and so's more confident these days. And I would put money on what is actually going on is there is less unnecessary thinking. There is less burdened thought, less interacting with thinking that's going on. And therefore that subtraction, unnecessary bullshit, dropping the belief that you need more belief to achieve something, that you need confidence.
And that again, sort of the image that's just come to mind then is of tightrope walking. So there was that film Man on a Wire, about the French chap, I forget his name, who did the high wire walk between the two buildings, and they were talking to him about, I'll bet you that first step's the scariest, and he's like, well, actually, no, it's the second, because with the first step, you've still got 1 foot on a solid ground. He said, but when you make that second step, you're committed to the process. And he was like, but that's the one that frees you, because then you know that that's the direction you're traveling. And I was just like, that's fascinating, because of course we all go, oh, that first step will be, proper cagey, it'll be really, really, really strange. Take that first step. And he's like, first one's okay. It's when you take the second one that then kind of moves you to action and it takes you forward almost, and I suppose with the testing, it's that idea of, what if, it's what if I tried this, or I wonder what had happened if, you know what I mean? It's And it takes me back to our conversations in previous weeks where we were talking about sort of that childlike mind of you know, that's like a life of testing, isn't it? In that phase of life that we're in, children are constantly testing. Oh, I wonder what'll happen if I do this. I wonder what'll happen if I jump off the top of the climbing frame. You know, it's kind of, yeah. I wonder what'll happen if I eat this muck. You know, it's kind of, and they do it, and they find out what happens. You know, and as we become more mature, we kind of we're guided away from almost from that testing way of being. You know. Yeah, and it is almost guided towards more of that trust the process. You know, look at the phrases we use. Yeah, trust the process. You'll be all right. Yeah, it doesn't feel like this. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Trust me on this. You know, kind of old snake oil salesman. Yeah. That of course is in here.
And something else that came to me just hearing your shares. Nick said this to me. We've had session 1 of creating my document. So the noticing and collecting your own judgments phase. It's been very interesting. One of the phrases he said is that the problem is your certainty. The problem is your certainty that you need more confidence, your certainty that you need to trust the process. That is the issue, the level of certainty you have in these beliefs.
Yeah.
That it's so close, it's like a mask. It's so close, it's there, and you need a bit of help seeing it. Hence chapters like this. Oh, wow. Literally what he says, take it off your to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah. Drop it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any more you'd like to share for now, Sean?
I'm all good for now, matey.
I think the Dalek is back again, by the way.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Maybe I've got a Dalek timer on this. I'll have to change it to Cyberman at some point.
Brilliant. Thank you. Karen.
The microphone.
Sorry, tiny screen. Couldn't find the mute thing because it had gone off the side. I'm on my phone. Sorry about that. Well, thanks a lot, Sean, for leaving me nothing left to say. Because, oh dear, the thing that struck me the most, well, there were two things actually. Number one was the black and white thinking, the all or nothing, because Will's being really good at pulling me up when I go down that route. So I'm very noticing that. And know that it's all just information, success and failure. It's not either or. It just is information. And oh, there was something else. Hold on a second. Yeah. Oh, I just don't want. I'm going to end up repeating things though, because like all the things that I wanted to say, you've already said. The thing that struck me was the first bit. You know, what about that millionaire with the drumsticks in his pants? He looked so baffled and so bewildered when he played and we didn't dance. Like the child plays all the way through this. It says the child does this. The child is unburdened by thoughts and expectations. And we in our wisdom think we know what's going to happen because we're meaning making machines and we're pattern matching machines. And that's how we get through life. And it cuts out a lot of time-consuming energy. You know, you don't analyze every single chair before you sit on it. It looks like a chair. I think it will take my weight. I'll go for it. That's a good thing. But as the more we've done this pattern matching, the more possibility there is to make slight errors and to start with that arrogance of I know it all, I'm a grown up now, or, you know, oh, I've seen something. Yeah, this was like that. And this happened. And then to just knock it out as if it's not relevant because something similar may have happened a little bit the same. And then just to write it off and not actually think, oh, hang on a minute. I don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It might have been a tiny tweak. It might have been a timing thing. It might have been a mindset thing, an energy thing. It could have been loads of reasons as to why something didn't quite go the way you expected it to go. And that doesn't mean that if you tried it again with fresh eyes and fresh enthusiasm, that it might not work. And yet we just think, oh, yeah, no, I did that. Yeah. I saw the first Fast and Furious. I don't need to watch the rest. You know, that kind of thing. So I think the thing is just to like, isn't it difficult though to stop the thinking? I know I am a really, there's one area of my life where I do a lot of overthinking about things. And I don't get any further forward. It is absolutely true. And then there's a load of stuff I don't do any thinking about, and just shit gets done. Or, you know, sometimes I make big mistakes, like running into the sea when it was freezing and then diving in without acclimatizing. I won't do that again because I couldn't breathe for a few minutes. That was information, but that hasn't stopped me going in the cold water. And I didn't give that any thought, but luckily I survived. Yay. But there, you know, that the most fun things are the ones where like somebody says, do you fancy doing that? And you go, oh yeah, go on then. And you just go and do it rather than agonizing. And so there's got to be some fun. There's got to be some playing. And then it's all down to, well, just do something. Like stop thinking about it, because thinking about it isn't going to do anything. And confidence comes afterwards, after you've done the thing and you've got a bit of data that gives you confidence, or some kind of data, you know, like if I do that, then that might happen, that I'm safe because I've done that before. You know, that kind of thing. Confidence comes way down the line. And in so many ways, we know that. And I wonder why it's certain areas that hold us up when there are some other areas that hey, off we go. And it seems, for me, it's the ones where I've got a lot of, there's a lot of importance put on it. A lot of, you know, again, it's thinking, isn't it? Overthinking. Building something up into a big thing rather than just saying, oh, do you know what? I'll just do that one little step. I'll take that one little step, then I'll take another little step. Thinking that you have to have the whole route planned out in advance. And it reminds me of that quote that Jamie Smart's always going on about. You know, writing is like driving at night in the fog. You can only see the first few feet in front of you, but you can make the whole journey that way. I love that. I live most of my life like that, and it's absolutely great. The one area of my life that I don't do that in is the one where I do all the thinking, funnily enough, and not the action. So I think my biggest challenge is to notice that I'm thinking, because I'm so used to doing the thinking that I'm just doing what I do, rather than, hang on a minute, hey, you're thinking, you know, not getting lost in the thoughts and thinking that what I'm thinking about is important, but actually the fact that I'm thinking is the important bit, and just stop Stop that shit right there. So yeah, playing, being childlike in the innocence in expectation. I love what I've written down what you said, Sean, about I wonder what will happen. I wonder what will happen. Like we've lost that. Oh, I know what will happen. You know, oh, I know. Oh my gosh. And we don't know, do we? Because we won't ever let ourselves find out if we don't try. Or just do something. You know, I love the idea of you can't steer a stationary vehicle, like just go somewhere and you'll end up somewhere else. It doesn't matter where you plan to go, because actually, you know, you might not, like I thought I was going to be a professional musician for the rest of my life. I'm really glad I'm not, you know, like I rode that donkey for as long as I wanted to, and then I got off it because I didn't want to do it anymore. And I would never have said that at the beginning. So who knows? Anyway, I'm rambling now. And I've got nothing else to say because Sean said it all.
I love this. I love everything you've just shared. And at the same time, anything that has already been said, you would only be saying in your unique way. It would still be very valuable if there's more that you, even if you thought, you know, oh, I might be repeating something, you're still saying it through your lens.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I love the 3M thing. I often think about the post-it note thing as well. Great minds, me and you, Sean.
I love the depersonalization in this chapter, and it really reminded me of the power of systems, which I'm currently recommending to absolutely everyone because it's blowing my mind. But effectively, rather than making all of this stuff a personal deficiency, oh, I lack the confidence, I lack the passion, I lack the dedication, the consistency, whatever it is, rather than making it about us, making it personal. The process of depersonalizing it, stepping out of the paradigm of mind that they talk about in that book and stepping into the paradigm of systems. It's like, okay, well, if we're going to look at this in terms of what's currently happening, what's currently not happening, let's take out all of the personalized bullshit that's going on, just in pure daylight terms, what's happening, what's not. There's a way to look at this chapter through the lens of system. So is the system you're using one of trying to visualize and work it all out ahead of time? Or are you adopting experimentation as your system? What's the habit that you're creating? And I love what you said there, Karen. Some areas we seem to step into that quite naturally. Other areas, something else is going on. And I agree with you. It seems to be down to the charge that we have created. And importance, I've written down here, even importance is a story. The level of importance that we place on something, that we there's still a creation there. There's a creative act of like, oh, this is more important than that thing. Do you mind if I ask you a question, Karen?
Mm-hmm. Go on.
You happy, and obviously you can say no. Are you happy to share with the group which area of your life? Because you mentioned there's an area of your life where you fall into this, and there seems to be an importance charge around it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go on too much, but it is basically in the work area. Yeah. Like, you know, there's a few options, there's a few different ways. And yeah, I could, you see, once I start, I'm really take over and I don't want to do that because but yeah, it's in work, and there's been lots of like, oh, I could go that way, I could go that way. Meanwhile, not going anywhere at all, just sitting on my bum, having a good old think, getting nowhere. So yeah, just creating like reasons to confuse myself, even, or to yeah, like not so much barriers or excuses, but just I am innocently creating a story about stuff, I think, that is just pointless. But I didn't realize, when you said even the charge around it, even that's just made up. Like it literally goes so deep, this stuff, doesn't it? So simple, and yet it goes through everything. And yeah, and I love what you said about the systems and depersonalizing, because that was the same with the last chapter, wasn't it? Expectation versus agreement and stuff. Once you've just taken the personal out, it's really easy to go and have a look at it without recrimination towards yourself or anyone else. And I think that's what we're not doing, those of us. I'm not talking for everyone else. People like me who are caught up in my thinking about certain things, I am making it personal. It's all about, what can I do? Oh, I'm not quite good enough. It's for everyone else, not for me. It's too late. I haven't got the energy. All the stuff that's utter story. But looks really real at the time. Like the monster under the bed when you're asleep. Looks really real until you wake up and realize you just made that shit up as well.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And I think the benefit with there being fewer of us today, we can have a bit more of a focus on everyone. If everyone's happy to do that, I wrote down here, just we might get round to this, we might not. We'll see how it goes. As a fun exercise, we could each share an area in our lives where we think we might be creating a level of importance and charge that's perhaps not serving us. So that could be something fun that we could do. Was there any more you wanted to share, Karen?
Uh, uh, I'm aware that this is going on to like going to be shared. So there is something that's quite personal but doesn't involve me. So I don't want to say too much just because it involves somebody else. But it certainly made me think, especially this one in the last chapter. Together, I think they're really closely linked, of how to deal with a situation with somebody who is not living up to the expectations that I would like to have for them. When you see someone struggling and you really want them to be on a certain level and they're just not. And so for this one, I don't need to know. I don't, like last week was making me think, oh, I just have to love this person. They don't have to meet my expectations. I just have to love them. And this one, I'm thinking, well, I don't know what it's going to take. Like it literally is, it's their journey. It's not something that I need to take on. And to be a bit more lighthearted in the part that I have to play in there. Less overthinking and that means and that means and that means and that will lead to that and blah de blah and then you've got all the doom at the end of it. But just to be open to the possibility that everything could change tomorrow, or they could wake up and bang, they're off. Just to be slightly lighter and more open to, I wonder what will happen, rather than I've got to help it happen. So I know I'm talking in riddles because I can't tell you what the situation is because it involves somebody else, but do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sash or Dennis, have either of you got anything you'd like to share? Sash?
I was trying to think of an example for me personally, and there's probably quite a few areas that I do it subconsciously, but one that I've just thought of as an example, I do it with time if I've got something on in the afternoon. So if I've got like a couple of hours free in the morning and I have something booked in for the afternoon, I go, oh, I can't do anything. I'm already booked today. I don't have time to kind of start something or do something because I have this like mental block of, oh, well, I've got an appointment at 2 o'clock, so that's me done for the day, kind of thing. And I've been with my home studio. It's been the main place of work for my partner, and now he's moved into his own studio outside the house. So now it's my studio just for me, and I've been wanting to make it my own and personalize it. And the weekend just gone, had that and actually felt that I wasn't listening to it. And I was like, oh, I've got a couple hours. Okay, I'll spend some time tidying up the studio, making it look a bit closer to what I wanted to do. But for a long period of time before that, I was like, oh, I can't work on that because I need a whole 2 days. I need to block out like 48 hours just to spend to make it perfect. And I've been doing that for probably, I mean, he moved into the studio early Jan, it's now March. So that gives you an idea of how long that period of time has been. And this weekend I spent maybe like, yeah, an hour and a half on the Saturday and then again an hour on the Sunday, and it looks so much better. I was like, oh, I can just spend a little bit of chunks of time, as and when. Um, and I think the thing that I find really interesting is physically, like with some of the stuff that I have that thought process with, or oh, I can't do that, or shouldn't, need to wait for this to happen before I can do that. With that thinking, it makes it feel that the physical action is harder than it actually is. When I think about the energy that thing might actually take, it probably equals the amount of energy that I would use for something that I would just always do. But in the moment, I'm like, oh, it's too much. But really, it's not. When you actually remove the thinking, the practical action that's involved, it doesn't take that much at all. And some of the things. Um, and for me, it comes in place when writing. I'm like, oh, I have to wait until I'm in a really good mood to write because it has to be the best writing in the world. I have to be in the creative space. And then it makes it feel like it takes up all this energy. I'm just sitting down and plonking my hands on some keys and see move my hands. Like the physical energy of it doesn't actually take that much, but the mental energy makes it feel much larger when I'm going through that process of thought. I think that's probably the only things kind of to add on my side. But I think what Sean was saying about the success and failure, like that really like opened my eyes a bit because I've not ever seen it in that way before. So thank you. I thought it was really interesting, Karen, what you said about the pattern recognition. Like that is, I think, so interesting. I have a really big interest on how humans' development and natural instincts as animals affects the way that we think and our mental health and the way that we are as people and our belief systems. I think those two, when they're in tune together, is so interesting. And understanding that how our brain is recognizing that and building like a bank of experiences. And then in the moment, it thinks it's protecting it. It thinks it is trying to protect you because you've had a specific experience with it before. Um, and sometimes how the body or the kind of brain instinctually will try and stop you from doing something, but it doesn't mean that you have to always listen to it. It's not always right. Um, which I think, yeah, it's really interesting.
Hmm. There's, yeah, I don't know if it's just because I'm in a massive power of systems mode, and I've just been reading it the last week. A lot of what I saw in this chapter really made me think of that. And again, what you just shared there, um, Steve Chandler describes the system of acting based on how you're feeling in the moment.
Mm.
So what you were just saying about, like, okay, so I want to write, but I'm not feeling great right now, so I'm not going to. I've got and again, that a belief comes in that when I write, when I'm in a good mood, I do my best work, right? So there's a belief going on there, and then a action taking system based on, well, I'm going to decide whether or not I take action based on how I'm feeling in the moment, versus a system of, I don't know, Thursday between 10 and 1 p.m. is an immovable block in the calendar for composition. And that's like, even if I get 8 bars written in 3 hours, that is an immovable block, regardless of how I'm feeling. So yeah, I love that. And then I wrote down here, like, all what you were sharing begs the question, what actually is the hard part? Is it the action itself, or is it the thinking? Is it the charge? Is it the story? Like sitting down and writing an email to somebody that you would like to offer a coaching conversation, that's 5 minutes, and that's typing. There's nothing mechanically difficult. We know how to spell. The fucking laptop will correct you if you can't spell. The actual mechanics of what is going on. And sure, you learn some enrollment skills, and there's perhaps, a way that you would compose an email like that, but then you buy a Caroline Freya Jones coaching book and use one of the templates that she's got in the back, right? So there's all these things out there. That's not the hard part. I think, right, that this is my assertion. This is what looks true to me. But the hard part is, well, what are they going to say? Am I being too pushy? Is this too forward? What if they say no? What am I maybe I'm not doing the, but and what if they say yes? Can I actually help this person? It's like, oh, and like, oh, my package is a bit expensive. Like, is this probably, that's that's the hard part.
Yeah, 100%. And I definitely feel sometimes the resistance between the two. Like it'll be, oh, you can't do that right now, and there's the other half of me who goes, no, 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 just get up and do it. Just get up and get on with it. And it's like, no, 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 no. And then that you can feel like this weird, like physical resistance with it sometimes as well. Um, and yeah, I think it's quite interesting where you can feel it physically.
Do you ever take stock of what physical sensations are happening? Do you ever do you and I certainly don't want to pretend to be an expert. There was something that Layla shared in a domino call last week that has made me go, I don't notice what's happening in my body. But I'm curious to see if you ever take stock of that.
Yeah, I get like prickly skin. Like my skin feels fuzzy when I get a resistance of it. Um, I sometimes feel it in my toes. My toes go tingly in a weird, like my feet. Um, it's like a fuzzy feeling of resistance. That's the only way that I feel like I can describe it.
As Nick said in the domino just gone, the mind and body are one system.
Mm.
That your thinking will have a physical reaction. You will have a physical experience of the thinking and feeling that's happening in the moment.
Yeah, it's really funny. I saw this video. I've got ADHD, and occasionally I'll follow like people with ADHD on TikTok and stuff. And there was this woman that did this like little song in her head of I keep singing it to Luke, my partner, and he's like, okay, like it's the new addiction at the moment. And it's if you've got something in your hand, she does this song to herself. It's like, don't put it down, put it away, and she like sings it to herself. And I find it really fun because like you can feel like that kind of resistance to go do something, and it's just kind of training yourself. So now for the past like week I've been like, don't put it down, put it away, everything that I have in my hands naturally to put it down. I can't remember why I was thinking of this, but it came up. But I think it's that resistance as well of like habit. Like sometimes it's, that thought process is habit, and being okay with that resistance existing and then doing it anyway is kind of then breaking out of that habit. I actually had my laser session for domino with Bloom today, and we were talking about kind of building up habits around composing. I said, oh, okay, all I need to do is sit down every day for 5 minutes and just sit down and write something. And I think the more that you do something, you get used to having that resistance, that physical feeling, and kind of override it a little bit. And I guess, but I think that's why I found what you said, Karen, really interesting of pattern recognition, because you're overriding that data that your brain has gone, that's a bad experience. And you're kind of overriding it with like small little good experiences that then build up. And you're controlling that narrative and changing it to mean something different, what you want it to be.
You're challenging the certainty that you currently have
Mm.
about it. Hmm. Love that. Is there any more you'd like to share right now?
No, that's everything.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm gonna double check quickly just because I've seen the time. Karen, you usually need to go at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
Do you need to be
I
gone
am. I am. Well, I won't go. I just won't be able to speak for a bit
for a
because
little?
you don't need to hear my car. But yes,
Sure. I was just going to ask Sean if it's okay, just given the time, is it okay to jump to Karen first? Awesome. Thank you very much.
it was only thanks, Sean. It's only a quick one. Um, Sasha, I remember reading the book Stephen King on writing. Really good. And it's all about, like when you've got this, what gets in the way of the artistic flow. And basically, again, with I know what ADHD executive function challenges are, and it literally is just sitting down every day and then losing the expectation that you're going to write a masterpiece and just chuck some stuff down. Right, I'm here 9 till 11, chucking some stuff down. Don't know how much it's going to be. Don't know how good it's going to be. I'll sort that out in the edit. If I do that every day, at the end of a period of time, I will have some stuff and then I'll tweak it, rather than getting caught up in the perfection. It's got to be perfect straight away. Yes, that came up because I thought I'd just say that in case it's helpful. And the other thing that I just wanted to say was about, when you recognizing that you're caught up in a thought storm. There's the three, isn't there? There's the where you hear yourself say, I am not good enough. I am blah, 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 whatever that judgment is. What if? That's the other one, isn't it? What if this happens? What if that happens? And then the feeling that you get, which is telling you about the thing, which matches the thinking. I'm feeling this, so I'm having those kind of thoughts also. So like those are the things where are the big like rumble strips that wake me up to the fact that I'm thinking. There are sometimes I still miss it though, even though I'm looking for it, because I don't even realize that, don't even realize I'm thinking. But there was one time when I went from being really, really happy to thinking, oh, do you know, it'd be easy to just die. Not like seriously thinking about killing myself, but really I went from that yay to, oh, I'm so done with this. And it happened within, I don't know, about 10 minutes. And then I heard myself just go, I just can't cope, I'm overwhelmed. And it was then I heard myself say, I'm overwhelmed. And in that moment, I thought, oh, that's an I am. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not even Karen, like I was me. My parents took ages to decide what to call me. And that is when I woke up to that, oh, shit, I'm fine. And that's when I started laughing. And it's all gone again, that it was great. It was the end of the world. It was great again. Honestly, really, whatever we're thinking now just doesn't last very long. It doesn't have to last very long. We have the power to change it in any way we want to, if only we realize that we've got that power in that moment. We've always got the power, but we just don't always notice it. So that's what I wanted to say, because it just I don't know why. I just wanted to say it. And now I'm going to go and listen to you for a minute. I will listen to you, Sean, promise.
Thank you. I'll quickly share something that Ellen shared with me, and it's this sort of the levels of the ocean analogy. You've got the surface, all the waves, tsunamis, storms, all of the awful weather. You'll experience it up there, as well as the times that the ocean is calm and smooth. And then below that, there are currents that exist, and that's the flow. And you can sit in the currents, you can find it and let it carry you. And then there's the bottom of the ocean, where you wouldn't feel the tsunami, you wouldn't feel the storm on the surface. And she told me this today, so I hope I'm doing it some justice and remembering it all clearly. But it made me think, and this is what she said, we always have access to the seabed. That never goes away. It's all a part of the ocean. Sometimes we're hanging out at the top and we're in the storm, and we really notice the waves and we feel the waves, and it feels like we're being knocked all around by it. But we have access to all of that. It hasn't gone away. We've just surfaced temporarily. And I really like that. Sean.
Cheers, Maisie. There was a few things that came out of what was being said. The de-personalisation side of things, and sort of Karen and Sasha talking about the charge that we have around things and sort of the meaning we attach to things. And it reminded me of I always used to use the first date story with students, and how we attach sort of importance to when we go on a first date, and how it has to be sort of this perfect thing. And I used to get the students to write down what actually happens on a first date, the first part of it, hopefully. But so it was like, you know, I'm sat down having something to eat. If they've gone for a meal, this was the thing. So I'm having something to eat. I'm having something to drink. I'm talking to somebody that I actually like, and I was like, right, okay. So which of those things can't you do? Can you not eat? Do you have to plan your eating? Do you have to decide kind of what? Or oh no, I can eat. All right, so you're fine with eating, right? Okay. And what about talking? As you know, have you got sort of one of those dentist injections that's affected your mouth? Or you can you not speak? Oh no, I can speak perfectly. Right, so you can eat and you can speak, and you know, and you can get yourself to the place that you need to be. So, so what's the problem? You know what I mean? And it's like, because you're spending an evening with somebody that you really like, you're eating food that you like, and you're talking about things that potentially you've got in common. So here's the problem. But of course, we create even before we've even got there. Oh God, you know, what will I wear? Well, I could wear this, but they might not like that, and I wonder if they'll like this shade, or I wonder if they'll like this, you know. And again, we whip up this storm. But actually, when you look at it completely objectively, it's two people sat there having something to eat, having a conversation, having a laugh, and it's like, you know, hopefully, and that was kind of like, yeah, that deeper, when we look at things and we do remove that personal fog, you know, from our thinking, actually things do look so simple. You know, it just becomes a series of events or things that interact or that we're working with, rather than, you know, if you're cooking a meal, oh, I've got to cook it perfect. I've got to cook the perfect meal. What is that? You know, where is this mythical sort of feast? Mount Olympus or something like that. I don't know. And then the thing about beliefs. There was a couple of things that came from that, and the first one was, it reminded me of the Byron Katie stuff that I know Steve Hardison's talked about, and Steve Chandler as well, I think, about this idea of, is it true? You know, that one simple question of when you have that thought and get caught up in it, it's like, is it true? And then it's that catching of, and then it's right. So can you say that it's 100% true? You know, because sometimes it'll try and sneak through. Well, of course it's true because I thought this and, you know, and this happened. But then it's like, right, but can you say categorically it's 100% true? Which generally tends to be the catcher in the rye, you know, the one that kind of, I couldn't say exactly 100%. It's kind of, you know, and that reveals the truth of the illusion, you know. And it was, and that tied in with something that I remember Sid Banks talking about, where he was having one of his sort of discussions in his house, and this particular person had gone, yeah, well, Sid, you know, you're talking about all this wonderful stuff, Marvin. He's like, don't you ever get angry? You know, kind of bit of step back in coyness. Don't you ever get angry and have angry thoughts? And Sid was like, well, yeah, of course I do. I'm a human being. He's like, right, okay, so in your wisdom, what do you do with it? And he's like, why would I want to do anything with it? He's like, as soon as I want to do something with it, I'm caught, you know. As soon as I want to engage with that, I'm in, I'm hooked. I'm part of the illusion then, rather than, as Karen was saying, that the idea of, if you catch it's the process of thinking, and it's always going to be there, you know. We talk about this idea of quiet in the mind. I don't know that, and again, I don't know. I'm guessing that there may be people who've spent years on Tibetan mountains and things that it might be true for, but it looks to me like the mind is always minding, you know. It's what it does, it's its job. It's just that we latch on to the noise and the content, rather than just acknowledging that it's what it does, you know. And actually a clear mind doesn't necessarily mean a mind of complete no thought and silence, but a mind that is open and receptive to wisdom rather than to interference. You know, if we're listening to a song on the radio, and I'm going back, I'm showing my age here, kids, you know, it's going back to the radio where it's not quite tuned in properly, and you've got that staticky stuff, so you can just about hear the song, but you've got all this static in front of it, you know. The quiet mind is when that tuning hits the perfect spot, and all the static just drops away, and we can hear the message clear, you know.
This is where the really important distinction between true thought and true fact comes in. And I love that question. And it is really effective at grounding someone quickly, if need be. If you're in a coaching conversation, of course you can use this stuff. These are human skills, right? So you can be having a chat with a friend that's having a shit experience of things. And that question is just so good at it's a disruptive question. So, is that true? Because it challenges a really common blind spot, which is I thought it, therefore it must be true, or it must have some validity because I thought it, right? And that's okay. Yeah, you. That's a true thought, and I love this distinction because how do you challenge someone without invalidating the experience that they're having? It's like, well, okay, that is a true thought. You are thinking that, and you are experiencing feeling that's coming up, physical feeling, emotional feeling. All of that is true for you. And is it a true fact? Is that real about you, about the world, about this situation? And this brings me back to an exercise I did in my first domino in 2022, I think, that blew my mind. And it's event versus interpretation. It's like how well can we separate the event from the story that we've meshed the event with? We're really good, as Karen said, like meaning making machines. It's like, right, here's an event. Then it all starts bubbling up in here. And because we've thought it, it must be true. And then they become one. And the ability to start untangling events from the interpretation and to be able to catch ourselves and go, right, that's real. And I love as well in that exercise, the challenge is to describe the event with as few words as possible. So you're not going, oh, it was a terrible, this terrible thing happened. It's like, no, right. Describe it in the least emotional way you can. And it ends up being, dropped glass on floor. in restaurant. It's like the purest possible, watered down, like, okay, that happened. That's a true event. Now, right down in the interpretation bit, it's like, I felt humiliated and it was awful and everyone stared at me and it was just shit, a terrible night out and all that. It's like, okay. Interpretation, story, emotion, feeling, thinking.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's not, we're not saying don't think. We're not saying don't feel. It's like, what we're saying is you're human. You're going to think, you're going to feel all of it, all the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just don't, you don't have to suffer as a result of your certainty in your thinking. That you can learn to drop.
Yeah. And do you know when you were talking about the real and the illusion and the made up and the kind of the it reminded me of the I think it was Michael Neal talked about it with the guy with the snakes. And I think it was back in his older kind of NLP days and that kind of thing. But he was talking about the chap who had a phobia of snakes, and I remember seeing it, and he's like, don't try this as a coach or a therapist. He said, but basically what he did was, and again, I don't know whether it's urban legend or snaky legend or whatever, but he basically had a changing room sort of shower area, communal shower area, and he had a load of toy snakes, and he had some real snakes, and then he led the guy in and said, right, okay. And the guy obviously started kind of freaking out because he used to see imaginary snakes, and it used to really kind of freak him out. And imaginary dogs sometimes came and lick you on the back of the head as well. And he basically said to the fella, right, I realize this is uncomfortable, but we're not leaving until you can tell me which of these snakes are real, which ones are toys, and which ones are made up. And the guy eventually kind of went through and had that realization that, oh my God, that I'm making some of these up. Some of these snakes aren't even here. And it was that kind of realization that he was like, and that's what I do. I make stuff up, and I believe it's real. And like you say, when we experience it, it feels real, and it's visceral, and it can be physical, and tangible. But the thing that can create all of that is just that that story, yeah. And I love that the event story one, yeah. That's brilliant because you can kind of go. But that's the and again, I think it's Michael Neal as well. After the therefore, he talks about, so he'll say it'll be, so using that example you did, I knocked a glass on the floor. Therefore, that means that I'm an idiot and I'm uncoordinated and I've caused a scene. So everything that comes after the therefore is the story. It's the made up stuff that we've created about the event.
I love that. And that's Michael Neal.
Michael Neal, yeah. After the therefore, yeah.
Thanks, man. I didn't know
what he's saying. And that's where we attach the meaning and this, to the event, rather than it just being, it's this, it's that,
And to circle back to the sort of the premise of this chapter, to take trying to be more confident off your to-do list. The process of viewing ourselves as requiring something more, this additional process. Oh, I need more of this misconception. That is playing with our thinking. That's engaging with our thinking. And no wonder that system doesn't work. Trying to take action by believing that we need more confidence, you're stuck in a loop. You're back on the hamster wheel of just round and round in circles, engaging with your thinking.
Yeah.
And again, all of the chapters in this book ultimately are pointing to a choice between do or do not. That's what that's just come to me now, really. You know, on the second and third reading of the book and going back over the chapters slowly, it's like that is the big choice that's jumping out here. It's like take action or don't. You know, live in the story or look in the direction so that you can begin to see through it. And just because you think it doesn't mean it's, you know, it's true. Mm. We've got just over 10 minutes left, and there is no pressure to squeeze anything up till half past. Is there anything that anyone else wants to share tonight? That is a very cute dog. Shall we call it here? If everyone is feeling complete, I feel complete. Awesome. Great to see you all. Thank you very, very much. Dennis, let us know how you get on. I hope you feel better soon. And yeah, I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. Bye.